There we go.
In which case, we can start with the minutes. Okay. John, did you want to, unless there are any other announcements, John, did you want to take it away on
Yeah,
Grape?
I've got some definite progress this week. I finally got a chance to compile Dave Witten's magnetometer temperature sensor reading thing, and it worked first try. So my interface was the last thing I had to finish debugging on the logic controller board. So it is now ready to go into production. I've sent out for 5 proto boards. I should be getting them back next week to do a in-house build to make sure all the parts are right. And then once I finish the bill of materials, I am getting a board quote on getting it made. I've picked the one house. I'm told them I'm ready to start and I'm ready to pull the trigger. I've got all the parts. I just have to figure out how many we're ordering, and I'll get to that in a minute. I have received the RF board panels. So I have the boards that are to be run through the process in my hot little hands. And I have a whole pile of parts. Which leads me to, the frequency code is still in progress. We're getting numbers that make sense, really, really good sense for a narrow frequency determination. But David is concerned about if we go off a couple of hertz, how well it's going to work. So he's working on that. And he's also working on doing the peak to peak peak voltage measurement, which he said it should be pretty straightforward. And if I can share my screen.
Go ahead.
This is where we stand on the Grape 2 build costs. 35 and 55 are the 2 columns, and you can see the RF deck. If we do 35, it'll cost about $3,600. If we do 55, it's about $5,000. This I haven't gotten a quote back on yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be in that area. The 35 or 55 Leo Bodnars come to that. And with the RF cables to cable that all in, it's probably about $25 for a set, because I think there is going to be at least 3 RF cables. Looking at the solid state drives, I sent something out last week on the technology, and the comment that the guy made at the end of the description is these are not intended for long-term storage. Sort of pushed me to, yeah, we don't want to use this. They're faster, but they're a lot less reliable, and for multiple reasons. So, and they're also twice as expensive. We can get the 4 terabyte purple hard drives for about $100 a piece, and the case for it, it's about 30. The mag temp boards right now are $60 a piece from Tapper. I think we can do better than that if we go through Dave Witten and build our own. And then if we supply the 100-foot cable to plug it in, that's $16. And then there's some fabrication that's going to need to be done in the front panels of the Grapes, because there are 4 RF connectors and 2 LEDs that come through the panel. And since they're on a PC board, you can't just do these by hand. They have to be done probably by either a CNC or something with a machining type, like a mill with a digital counter on it. So anyway, coming down to the bottom line, if we build 35, we're sitting at about $22K for the total. And if we build 55, we're sitting at about $33K, which comes to an average cost for each of the Grapes right around $500 a piece. But this is a little deceptive because none of the parts costs are in this. I've already bought all the parts. And that would add probably, although it would add probably, I'm guessing somewhere around $200 each for just the parts and the PC boards. That's not in there either. So, but they're not that expensive. The PC boards are less than $2 a piece, the way I'm getting them. So that's where we stand. And I wanted to take the parts to the place on Monday, but I'm going to need to go ahead from Nathaniel as to which direction we're headed.
When you have these quotes up here, is this money that you need on top of the money I've already allocated to you, or is this money that it's that includes the money I've already allocated to you?
This has nothing to do with the money that was allocated. These are the actual costs.
Okay, but,
Does the money cover it?
you,
No, not even close. I think I've got, I want to say 7K left in that, but I have to check with Solisa on that because the reconciliation between the two, her methodology is a little bit different than mine. She's just doing a line item as it comes in, and I'm doing it per line item as I enter it. So I'm close to what she's got, but not exact. But anyway.
so what, okay, so you're saying that you're saying you think that we'd have to take this number and subtract, you have $7,000 left approximately.
I think that's what it is.
Okay, and so
I
we'd
haven't
have
looked at
to,
it. I haven't looked at it in the last month.
and so we would,
It
so
does.
we only have $7,000 towards the numbers that you have on the screen here.
I believe that is correct.
Okay. All right. That's significantly over the original budget. I think there might be a way that we could do this. Maybe we should have a meeting after this to talk about that, not on the general
Okay.
call. Okay.
Well, the other thing that hit me is this isn't really for the grape. This is really building the tangerine equivalency. And this is way out of bounds for the budget on that for the grape. So yeah, I get it. This is not
This is
not
the
a
station.
build.
Let's talk
doing
about,
so
let's
much
have this
more.
discussion. Let's talk about this after. And as I
Okay.
said, I think there might be ways that we could do this, but I need to talk to you more about that and need to restructure something. So let's just, if you can, maybe after this call, we can chat a little bit, just you and me, and we can
Okay.
try to figure this out. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, great.
May I ask an innocent question?
Yes.
What is the reason for a 4 terabyte local drive? I understand that we're collecting lots and lots of data, but it's getting uploaded to the central control control system. Why do the users have to keep a copy of it?
I do
good to do that anyway.
Is there a strategic reason for that? A design
It's called
reason?
backup.
Isn't the University of Alabama backed up?
Sure.
The
It
thing, you do want to keep a certain amount of data. It doesn't have to be a long term, but you do want to make sure that you have the data in case something doesn't work transferring it.
Right. But you don't need 4 terabytes to do
Yeah,
that. Right.
4 terabytes is something you do for a high data rate
Can you put
storage, like
that
what we do,
back?
10 megabit per second, not 8 kilohertz.
Can you put that back on the screen for a minute? John?
Hello, John.
John? Hang on. He may have dropped out.
Sorry, I had a phone call for a quote on some DMMs I'm getting for the lab that I had to take. So I'm sorry that what did I?
Yeah, we were
miss?
wondering if the question came up, do we really need a 4 terabyte hard drive?
Yeah, it gives us about a year's worth of data storage because we're storing a little over 11 gigabytes of data per day.
But why do we need that at the user site is my question.
It is the full spectrum data that we're saving, and haven't determined how we're going to process it, because in real time, we would be trying to upload about roughly a 450 megabyte file per hour.
Can you put the numbers back on the screen for a minute?
John, are you
Numbers.
saying that what is uploaded to the central control system is not all the data?
Well, right now, the digital RF is only a subset of what's being trimmed down to a 5 hertz bandwidth of signal processing.
Right.
He's not sending up the full set. It's only a 5 hertz bandwidth around each
So
side.
the whole set exists locally.
It does, but I don't think he's keeping.
No, no.
I'm not.
In the-
Bill would
in
be
the
able to
cur-
answer that.
In the current Grape 1 digital RF, I'm only storing the 10 hertz wide. Now you can turn on a function in GNU Radio to store the full spectrum. But since we weren't planning on working with that in this phase, I left that, it's disabled in GNU Radio flow script.
John, can you put the I'll tell you what's running through my head here.
Okay, just put
So
what up?
if you put the budget up again.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go.
Okay. So there's a couple of things that are running through my head.
I'm
First
fired.
of no. Do you
Oh.
want to? No. That's not.
I tried.
You're doing great, John.
Yeah.
So a few things are running through my head with this. One, if we were to try to stick to the original budget, the grant only requires us to do 35. So
Okay.
that immediately gets us down to the $22,000 level.
Okay.
Okay. Two, the Grape project does not require magnetometers to be deployed for this particular grant. So if we
Okay.
put that in, that's a nice thing that we're putting in, but that really is not an item that should be funded. Like we said, we would provide compatibility with the magnetometer boards, but we did not say that the magnetometer boards would have to be deployed with this
Okay.
system. Okay, so that could knock off a couple $1,000s. Three, I do believe that with enough time, given enough time, so not necessarily by April, but given enough time, I do believe that we can get the signal processing worked out such that we can significantly reduce the bandwidth requirements. Because the only thing we really need to have in terms of bandwidth is we need two things. We need, say, plus or minus maybe 10 hertz around the carrier to get the Doppler. And we also need some method of telling, is it WWV or WWVH? And that second part can be done in a couple of different ways. One way is we could potentially just get another slice of a small slice of spectrum, maybe 5 hertz wide, around, say, like, the 1200 hertz tone or one of those tones. We could pull that out. There are ways of slicing and dicing the spectrum that we can get it down. Plus, I do know that if you do get things into the binary format, and I know if you use appropriate compression, we can dramatically reduce the amount of bandwidth that the system is consuming. So I believe given enough time and enough development, we can significantly reduce the storage requirements where you don't need a 4 terabyte hard drive for a year. Okay. So I think there's a lot of ways we can knock down the costs here. However,
I'm thinking for the Eclipse,
okay, so
it might
so
not be a
still,
bad idea to have the full spectrum.
I agree. So this is all the stuff that's going through my head. So I agree with you. Okay. So the parts other part I agree with, so even if we go down just from 55 to 35, I know that's not the deployment you'd really like, but that would meet the scope of the grant. So that would meet what we said we would do. And it would save $11,000. And that would, it's a lot easier to find, to go and find just, $10,000 instead of $20,000. So that's one way we could scope it back. Again, and then we can also knock off a couple $1,000s by not including the magnetometer boards, not including the 100-foot of RJ45. We can pull down the costs that way.
There's
All
another thing you can cut costs on, and so we could reuse the 25 GPS DOs.
That's
that would knock it
true.
down by 5,000.
Okay, that's true, but then that's also taking away all of these systems that are already working.
Right.
Okay, so So basically, and kind of in the same boat that Christina was in. Christina's like, don't take down the things that are working, let's keep
I'm
those.
just throwing it out there. I'm not saying
Yeah.
we should do it. It's just a possibility. I mean,
It-
that's
it- you're-
5,500
it's-
is a big chunk of change.
Yes, I agree with that. Now, so now that I've said all of that, I think with all of that said, I know that I can get a few $1,000s more from next year's Grape budget that could potentially be applied to this. I see the value in, I do hear you that the amount of time it's going to take to reliably figure out how to get the data processing to take up less bandwidth and not take up the full 4 terabytes, that is something that is going to take time. It needs to be done carefully. And if our main goal is to get the Eclipse done, we don't necessarily have that time. I
Right.
still do from the old Daisy grant, I still do have a significant amount of money left. And we've already gone through one no cost extension. Usually the NSF gives you one no cost extension without a problem. I think I can still go and ask for another no cost extension. I think there's enough money in that budget to cover this. But if I pull it from that grant, it's taking away from essentially what was the Tangerine SDR project. Now, the Tangerine SDR project has really kind of fallen apart for a lot of different reasons that we don't have to go on to this call. We have an alternative way forward with the Tangerine SDR called the Clementine, but it's not nearly as well developed as this is. And I don't know that I'm not sure that we want to save those resources to sink into the Clementine, or maybe it makes more sense to take those resources, sink them into this, since we know that this is actually working and we're going to get something useful out of it. So I'm potentially willing to have that discussion to say, okay, can we take more money from the Daisy grant, go back to the NSF, tell them what we're doing, and see if we can get their blessing to basically fund this. So these are all the things that are going through my mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I deleted the items on the thing about the mag temp and the cable. I don't see an immediate way of getting around the 4 terabyte drive.
Right. And that's
Bodnar
the other thing. That's the other thing I'm looking at. I mean, the cost of the 4 terabyte drive, you're
is
looking
really not that bad.
Minimal.
it's not. It's minimal. And I think I really, and that's, I agree with that. It's not worth, if we're going to save $25 a hard drive to go from 4 terabytes down to 1 terabyte, why not have the extra space? Like, I do think, I do believe with time and some effort, we can get the costs of the amount of data we're going down. But this is a research project. We talk about, sometimes we talk about how there's like scope creep or something like that. This is something, when we first proposed the Grape, back in 2017 or whatever it was, 2018, we didn't realize that we needed to know like the full spectrum of things. We didn't realize that we needed there were a lot of things we didn't understand that we've learned since then. And when we put in the new Grape proposal, we did understand we needed the spectrum, and that actually is in that Grape proposal. But as we're going along, we're learning too that it's taking, doing this signal processing and getting things right is taking more time than we would hope. But I think we are showing good progress. From listening to you, it sounds like every week it does sound like you're getting closer. It sounds like you're showing, you're meeting the timing requirements. We were able to deploy a really nice network of Grape ones using the digital RF software for the October eclipse. We got some really nice data from that. I think we have some really nice milestones that we can point to that says that, okay, we're, even though we are kind of increasing the scope a little bit, we're still getting data. We're still developing our network. We're making better and better observations. So I think from a research project standpoint, I think we're doing okay.
So it's the
What do you
bottom
think?
line, I should follow the 35 column and go that way?
No, I think when do you need to know by?
I was hoping to take parts to them Monday,
Monday. Okay.
so probably by tomorrow. But I mean, the more we delay it, the more it delays my getting
Right.
the boards fixed and working.
Can we, let's at 11 o'clock, if you and I can have another chat.
Sure.
What I'll do is I'm gonna bring up the spreadsheet I have from the original Daisy project, and let's look at that together.
Okay.
And let's have a discussion based on the resources and that other Daisy thing, because I do have to go to the NSF very soon and make a case for the no cost extension on that. So, and if I do take any money from that Clementine project, I do want to make sure I have the buy-in of Dave Witten and Tapper, and I want to make sure that they're, they are, happy with the amount of resources I have for that project too. So let's meet at 11 a.m. or right after this meeting. I'll bring up the other spreadsheet and we'll go through it and try to figure out the best path forward.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Back to Ned.
Okay. Let's go back to the minutes then.
Trying to think, Kung, do you have anything for an update?
I was just about to ask that.
Unfortunately, I don't, because yeah, so this week I decided to move the Grape from my house back to campus. So I set it up in our new ham shack. And then we contacted IT to provide me with remote access, but I don't think we've heard back from them yet.
I got something from them.
Oh, you did?
Was it rude?
It wasn't. It was absolutely fine. It was very professional. And that it's just a matter of did they do it yet? So no, the IT, I have to say about Scranton IT is they have been very professional and very patient and very listening. And
I was just joking.
so the current update is that they are I have an update that says they are assigning an IP to it now. So that update was sent yesterday at 11:50 a.m. So it's there's a ticket in and it says they're going to do it. So
Do they allow
Awesome.
access to it through the firewall?
yes. So
Oh.
you have to have a VPN. There's a VPN that you have to log into, and you have to have Duo, and there's a bunch of requirements on that. But yes, Kung will be able to access it remotely.
Fantastic.
This is a point where I am, really struggling with Scranton IT, is trying to get a network environment that really does give me the flexibility and freedom I believe I need to do my research projects. It's an ongoing discussion with them. I don't envy their position. I think that I know for a fact that there are multiple pressures on them from different directions, and they're trying to work it out. I think we will eventually have the network and the environment I'd like to have, but I think it's going to be a 3 to 5 year thing and not a next week thing. So it's going to be a lot of discussions, a lot of planning, and a lot of convincing people to, dedicate resources in a certain direction.
And we have the exact same issues on Case Campus. So yeah, it's a big problem.
It's a common problem. And, I know Alabama, this is not just a Scranton thing. This is an every university thing. And the problem, so I think most people, I don't know if most people, it's a bad thing to say. But the main problem that these institutions face is, from what I understand, is a ransomware threat. And that's the idea that somewhere, somehow, someone can get onto these systems and they can put in malicious software that will encrypt all of the data. And they don't give you the decryption key unless you pay them a lot of money. And these threats are real. You read about them in the newspaper every day. You wake up and there's some other university that is completely shut down because their data has been encrypted, or it happens to hospitals, which is even worse. And because then people's lives are at stake, and it's really nefarious. So they're tremendously risk averse to this, and the universities and the institutions, they actually have a cyber insurance security policy, and those security policies are very expensive, and they dictate. So outside people dictate to the university what they are and are not allowed to do. And if they don't do these things, they don't get the cyber insurance security policy. And part of that is, what the cyber security insurance people say. And then you also have external IT security auditors. So all of this factors in, and it makes it very difficult. So that's what we're facing. But the IT people have been very professional, and we're trying to work through these things.
Yeah, if I could say something just a little bit, the experience at Dartmouth, there are two things. One, we get data back from the field all the time. So whatever they're doing, we've worked it through. The other thing is Dartmouth offers a public network that is not connected to the internal network. Does Scranton have the same, and would that be able to handle some of the data transfers?
They do. And I mean, this is where a lot of the discussion is going. It's looking like the type of work that I'm doing would need to be really segregated from the rest of the campus network. But that's, again, more complicated, and it's more expensive than you think it should be. You're going across multiple buildings. It's just, but these are some of the discussions we're having, trying to segregate our network traffic from the rest of the university.
Yeah, but I can say that we've been bringing data back from the field for years, and we've worked it out.
Right, and that's why I said, I do think we'll get the environment that I believe we need, but I think it will be more a 3 to 5 year thing and less of a next week sort of thing, because doing this is going to involve a significant investment in terms of, because there are multiple buildings involved. Even if they do segregate the network, they do have to have some sort of monitoring in place at the IT level to ensure certain things. And they want to make sure that's up to the latest, best practices and all that stuff. So and really, so a lot of this also comes down to money, and they have to find the money in order to do that investment. And so that's why this is going to take so long. But I do think it has the potential to be resolved, just not in the short term.
Yeah,
But
good luck with that.
To David's comment, what was done way in the past is completely different than what's happened in the last year. The network requirements for security in the last year are much more severe than they were even a year ago. So
yes,
it's a completely different paradigm now. So what happened in the past really doesn't apply anymore.
Well, whatever we're doing it currently. So Dartmouth has got it in hand, presumably. Anyway, just saying that it's still possible to do so.
It's definitely possible. It's just, catching that up, and it takes a large investment. So, I mean, what might happen, David, is that's good to know, because I can, our university here, they do look to other universities that are kind of leading the way. So maybe our people will be able to talk to your people and make some progress that way.
Yep, indeed.
Might break in here for a hot minute. Are there any other software updates?
I've got a couple of things on the personal space for the station network. Wherever you want to put that in the agenda is fine.
Yeah, I can put that down with Grape 1 updates. I suppose I should probably carve out its own space. I just wanted to check in with Kung and Bill and make sure there wasn't anything else on the Grape 2 deployment.
Nothing from me.
Okay.
I don't think David has anything either, so I think we're good.
Okay. In which case, by all means, Grape 1 updates.
All right, you want me to go ahead, or you want to? Why don't you call the roll, Rachel?
Call the roll?
Yeah, go around and pick who you want to go next.
Oh, yeah, for the most part now, I think we're into less emergency territory. I don't think Gary has any urgent website updates, so Grape 1 updates is fine. We had a lot of stuff hanging out, but this would count old business. What are your updates?
All right, a couple of things. There is a GitHub that contains the software for reading a digital RF data set that is created by the Grape 1, and that is available. And I'm going to be adding to it in the next day or so the plotting software, because several people have asked to play with that themselves. So we're going to put that on GitHub, and so that'll become available. I'll post something on the HamSci distribution list when I get that done.
Bill, are you putting that on the HamSci GitHub?
Yes, it's the one that you gave me access to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, is that the DRF processing one?
Yes, I will be
Great.
adding. Yeah, I'll be adding the DRF plotting to that as well.
Wonderful.
Next thing, one of our members produced a procedure in order to add a VNC server to your Grape 1 DRF system, so you could run it headless and access it from anywhere. We were talking about, I think that, Gary, did you get a copy of that to post somewhere?
No, I have not, Bill.
Okay, well,
I haven't. I don't have a copy. I should say I haven't seen it.
okay. Well, I don't think he'll mind putting that out. I have tested it and it works. So I'll forward you. There's a PDF document on that. It's a lengthy procedure, but if you follow it very carefully, you can get it running on your system. So that's another thing. Also, I think this is just for those few people who are not aware of this. Let me share my screen and I will show the latest thing that's been added to Personal Space Weather Station Network web server. Okay, so there's your standard system. If you go into observations and now click on one of your observations, what it does is it puts the plot for that down here. So everybody's got the plots. And then if you want to see that up, it's kind of small and stuff. If you click on that open image in new tab and go to that, you get the full thing. So if anybody wants to look at plots, and we're going back and recreating the plots all the way back to when we began collecting data. So if you want to look at even some early plots, some early attempts, they should all be out there, at least the ones that work, which is 99% of them. We're going to be adding a button here. So in addition to doing download observations data, you'll be able to download just the plot. So you'll be able to get this PNG, which is, it's nicer to be able to include the original PNG in case you're putting something into a paper or a presentation. It's sharper than if a screenshot. So that's all I had. Back to Ned.
That's really good, Bill.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Nice job. Very nice job.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Rachel, I do have one question that's kind of pertinent to the topic at hand, right? The Grape 1 DRF and the website.
Oh, I'm muted. I said go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we've always had some discussions about where or how we can put the DRF image up on the website. And Bill has already in his document detailed on how to manage the configuration file. So if somebody builds, system number 27, they can get the image. Now, Bill, you and Nathaniel were going back and forth trying to get Zenodo to work because that was probably the only place we could put such a big file. Did you guys eventually have success with that?
Well, I got it uploaded, but Nathaniel's gone in to try to approve it and it won't let him. So I know maybe we've got to do it again. I probably messed up something when I was doing the upload, and now it thinks it's not
Can you-
validated. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got behind on my emails here because you sent me the link to that, right?
Yeah, and you tried to approve it and it would not let you. It says some kind of validation error. An unhelpful error message comes out. And this is the
Yes,
first
very
time I've ever tried to upload anything to Zenodo, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I'm trying yeah, and you got the wrong DOI. Yeah, would you mind before I go file a thing, could you just try uploading it? Just create a new repository, just try one more time.
New repository, okay.
And if we try it twice and we still get the same error, then I will send me the DOI of the new repository.
All right.
This one's done.
Because I don't think, I bet something didn't go through all the way, and I wonder just trying it once more, you might be lucky.
Okay.
So great. So yeah, if we get this working and we get that document about how to carefully make your DRF system headless, I think we're golden. We're going to have a lot of really excellent documentation head to toe up there. So that's it for me.
Agreed. And
Right.
all in one place.
Okay, we'll see about that. Any other website updates? I think for the most part, this is done. Did you add, I suppose this is kind of under the same list. I might clean up the minutes after this. All right, Grape 1 stuff. Any updates on the amplitude drop-off issues we've been talking about?
I hadn't had time to look at that. First
That's-
time I'm gonna have a chance to look at that's probably gonna be next year.
I meant to be ready to show this, but I have Bill Blackwell's daily plot of the Northeast Grape Group, New England Grape Group's plots from yesterday. And all of us saw a big drop that lasted for an hour or more, and then came back again. And I believe that's what we're talking about here. This is in the signal strength.
Probably, yeah. I mean, what it looks like, I spoke with John about this, and suspicion is something is going wrong in like the first block of the GNU radio script.
But for all 6 of us, this is
Well, if it has to do with it happens to a lot of people.
Are you
okay.
using digital RF or are you using the FL Digi? Which one are you talking about?
No, we're talking about DRF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pardon me. No. We're talking about the FL Digi, the classic Grape.
Yeah, that doesn't have
That's
a different issue. That was probably a real drop due to a TID.
could be. But what we need to debug the problem with the DRF system is we need somebody who's got a calibrated signal generator to take a digital RF Grape and gradually increase the signal strength and see if it's something where this starts happening once the signal strength gets to a certain level. And and John, you've got a lot of copious free time. That's why I put this out there for maybe somebody else could do this besides. Well, everybody's overloaded on this project. If we can get a volunteer who has a good signal generator to test that, it may simply be that we need to put some attenuation or reduce the gain a little bit or something. That's one option. Like I said before, I'd like to get with Tom McDermott and spend some time with him looking over the flow graph, and maybe he can say, well, that's your problem. I mean, it's only like the very first block that doesn't use floating point. So it's got to be in that first one or two blocks. So
Okay. We'll check back in briefly next week. Speaking of next week, so the week after is Thanksgiving, and I imagine none of us would like to be here. So really quickly, who has access, privilege, like editing access to the calendar?
I do.
Would you mind
I
removing
can.
Telecons for Thanksgiving, just so people don't get confused? I'll send out reminder emails at the time and I'll put it on next week's, but.
I will remove that right now.
And then not this week, but in the next couple weeks, we will want to discuss what day we'd like to stop having great meetings and kind of close for the winter holidays.
That
Not this
sounds great.
future forward. Okay.
Yes.
Which case, does anyone want to talk about the initial press release on the website? Also website issue.
Yes. I have, all right. So what I've done this week, I've come up with a new version of the talk that I have been giving that includes some data from the current eclipse. And I've given that talk twice so far. I gave it once at the Lackawanna Astronomical Society on Tuesday night in person here. And I also gave it once last night to the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club in Michigan. That's JWB8SBI's club. I gave that over Zoom. I think we can use some of the things in there to form the basis of an initial press release.
Do you want to share?
Yes, what I was going to do is I was just going to share the link to the
Okay.
to the presentation. I don't think I'll bring the whole thing up right now unless you want me to. I'm getting the link. All right, Hazel Park, Michigan. Okay, open with.
You got Rachel's
I
screen.
wonder if we could get a volunteer
Grabbing the link.
share with. Yes, I'm grabbing the link. I'm getting used to new computer running Windows 11. Things are in slightly different places. Copy link. All right, I think here's the link. I will put this in the chat. So yes, this talk has some data from all of the different projects in it. And I'm wondering, could we have a volunteer who could draft up a press release using this as a basis?
I think Ed Fcheck wanted to take that one on, Nathaniel. If I work with him and come up with an outline or something, I think he could write it.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, we'll talk about that this afternoon then.
That sounds great. So yes, that's the status there.
Okay. All right. We're actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah, Rachel, do you want to talk about the act publication paper that we talked about Monday?
Sure.
So yeah. So we talked about Rachel actually working on a real scientific publication that ties in the ham-sci observations from this eclipse.
Okay. Yeah, it would be kind of like a blurb for each project and some very beautiful graphs.
Yes, I think something like that.
So I think we'd have Grape. I guess not Clementine yet, but Steve Serwin's group, VLF group.
You could also use that same presentation as kind of a starting outline.
Yeah. Probably will.
And we can, I think a good spot for it, might be radio science. It's not as popular of a journal anymore, but it is an AGU journal. And I think this is very much fit in scope. And what's nice about radio science is I think we can put a lot of the I don't think we have to have anything really groundbreaking in terms of new geophysical discoveries here. I think we can really say, Hamsai ran these eclipse experiments and here are some initial observations, and we can, tie it in together there. And the other nice thing about if we do think we're going to go to radio science, if we decide we do want to go to a journal with a slightly different scope, AGU has a family of journals that all use the same format. So there's Space Weather, Journal of Geophysical Research, Space Physics, Radio Science. All of those use the exact same overleaf template and have the exact same length and text requirements and style requirements. So then changing, if we decide as we go along, we're like, oh, we actually can get this. We think this would work as a JGR Space Physics. It'll be really easy to just change it over. Here, I will put the link in. I'll put the link in the chat for the radio science journal overview.
Cool beans. Okay.
And
yeah, Christina in the chat just about 10 minutes ago, you asked if Bill Blackwell could share FL digiplots. Anyone's in particular?
Christina asked that?
Yeah, in the chat.
Yeah, there was one about something dropping out.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm on a plane, but I think George can share it if he's got it. Sorry.
Wow, I'm impressed.
That is impressive.
Well, we haven't taken off yet, so.
Oh, okay. I thought from 30,000 feet, I'm really impressed, Bill.
Long
Yeah,
distance.
I've got to go offline in a minute, but yeah, George, take it.
Well, wait a minute. What is it I'm to take?
The multi-plot from yesterday, I think.
Okay.
Christina wanted to see it.
I happen to be all set to do that. I'm sharing my screen now.
Safe travels, Bill.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Well, this is the
Oh my.
the power from the Northeast Grape people, and this is us. The brown line is Bob Reif's 5 megahertz. Everybody else's is 10 megahertz signal. This is what I was talking about. There's these strange dropouts where we all see them in the signal strength. If we look at the Doppler, well, everybody seems to be in line there. There's nothing wild going on except this guy here, which is, I'm afraid to say that's me. I was fooling around with my desktop configuration here at that time.
You're allowed.
Yeah, so that's
So,
problem in chair. But does this answer your question, Christina?
it helps, thank you. So Shibaji and I have been working on looking at the impact of solar flares, and we showed that in the ESSD paper and in the presentations at the Hamsai workshop.
Yeah.
But what we have not figured out, because okay, when you see a sudden vertical hop by all of the stations at once. And if you have them color coded by latitude, then you can see that it's latitudinally dependent. When you see those, that's a Doppler flash associated with a solar flare. But sometimes you see everything drop all at once. So
Yeah.
like at 2 o'clock
In terms of
UT.
Doppler,
on the Doppler shift, yeah. So if you go to the left of this plot at 2 o'clock UT, it looks like everybody's dropped at once.
yeah.
What's going on there?
That might be the same thing we're seeing in the DRF plots.
Now, this leads nice segue into the question I wanted to bring to the group this week, which was, is there any suggested links to other data sources for solar activity? GOES has been suggested, I think, but can anybody provide links?
Yeah, if you go to spaceweather.com, there's a link to the GOES data on the sidebar on the left side.
Thank you.
And they have a list of the biggest solar flares of the day. So you can get those timestamps and then you can go in and you can check your data.
Yeah.
But-
Can we go back to the amplitude graph?
I'm saying.
Yeah, what was that? That one's weird.
This?
Is
Yeah.
this the same thing we're seeing? Is this the same
Oh,
thing we're
yeah.
seeing in the digital RF plots?
No, the digital RF, the amplitude's going up. And
No,
that's
it's
what
not.
made
It's
it-
going down. It's the same thing.
See, I thought the
Question
peak
is, what's node
yeah.
13 doing?
Node 13.
I don't think he's on here, but if we could check what node 13 is doing, you'll know what WWV is doing because he's the ground wave station.
Yeah,
that will tell you if
this is
it's-
just the Northeast people. Let's
Yeah.
let's look at the more complete one, which is this, which is everybody, not everybody, which is what we call the full plot,
Yeah,
and it's people across the country. Here we go.
Yeah, that's a good point, Christina.
So this is people from North Chelmsford all the way up to Virginia and Maine and Goshen, Indiana, and Lady Smith, British Columbia.
yeah, I don't think we got our Colorado station on there.
Now,
No,
should make
let's
sure
take a
his
look
is
at the
uploading
amplitude
properly.
though. There, now look at that.
Okay.
And you know
Same.
what? When I look at the plots from last night, that is 11:08 for digital RF, we see the same thing at the same time.
okay, that's good.
That tells us that this is not subject, this is not something that is
It's not an
limited
instrumentation
to-
error.
one thing or the
Well,
other.
Right.
It's not software. It could be hardware because the hardware is common with both systems.
It's possible.
But the amplitude dropping, that's just weird.
These people aren't all on the same power grid.
Right.
No,
No, half of ours are on battery, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because mine's running off battery.
Well, some of those, you know, some of these are across the continent.
Yeah. This
You
guy's
have
in British
one
Columbia.
new voice message. You have
There's one in
voice messages.
there's one in
To listen to
Atlanta,
your messages,
K4BSC.
Dave, your voicemail is playing.
First voice message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
There is the plot that came from K4BSC who was in Atlanta. Is exactly, the dropout is exactly the same time start and end as what we're
Yeah.
looking at here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That suggests it's geophysical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like you said, Christina, a problem with WWV.
And mine, I'm not on these because I'm using FL Digi, but I also have an identical one, 10 megahertz here in Cleveland.
No,
So
you're
our-
not on these plots, David, but these are FL Digi plots we're looking at right now.
Right.
Okay, but I have the same thing.
So I like Christina's idea of trying to look at the control station right near WWV.
I hate to say it, guys, but I don't have that data from October 9th through now.
Do you have it from previous days?
I have it prior to October 9th. I had this installed at a friend of mine's home and he didn't tell me they changed the network. And
Hmm.
Well, the data should still be there if it's running.
on the Pi,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it gets put into the transfer directory, and if it's not successful, it stays there and it tries again the next day. So as soon as you get a network connection, it should all upload.
Okay, well, will it take, so if I connect the Pi, I took the Pi away from that site, I was gonna, merge it with the GNU radio one and see if I could do that with
No. Just plug it back together in the network. It should take care of itself.
Will it upload the data if I'm on a different network? It'll still upload to the server,
As long
right?
as it has connection to the network, it'll transfer.
Yep.
Okay, I'll definitely plug that in and get that done. It'll take a little while, but I
And
don't
then
have
we'll have a Colorado data set for that one.
I don't have it from yesterday though. If you wanted to look at it specifically from that drop yesterday.
Wouldn't WWV know if they were off the air?
Matt would be glad to tell you if he dropped the signal for whatever reason they might have done it. That's easy enough. He would tell you. But I'm sorry, I do not. The need for the control is there, and I failed. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I was talking about Maxwell Moran Station.
You can check with Maxwell too. He should have a 10 megahertz. Yeah.
We have redundancy. We're good.
I have a plot though from W0DAS that's dated 11/08, as in yesterday.
Maybe we do have it.
Not the FL Digi stuff. You've got my GNU radio plots, and
yes,
yeah, those are fine, and they're there.
Okay, all right.
I don't see a drop in the signal yesterday, or actually, I guess it would be up there. We should be able to look at yesterday's plot. You guys should be able to call that up. It's really nice to be able to see those plots, by the way. Everybody's green screen.
Let me go do that.
Bill, I had a real quick thought on diagnosing this. If you were to run FL Digi on that the platform and put the waterfall into scope mode, you could actually look at the waveform height going into the audio card or coming in from the audio card and see if it's clipping. Because on the lower left corner, you got the waterfall, you've got the spectrum plot, and then there's a scope plot. So it actually gives you a scope waveform of what's going into the audio card. You could use that as a quick and dirty way of looking at the amplitude going in.
Yeah, maybe.
What you might do is take a second system and just piggyback off of the audio thing into another, thing running the Grape with FL Digi on it and look at it simultaneously.
And FL system?
Yeah. You'd have somebody else or running a copy of FL Digi looking at the audio stream that your digital RF is getting. So you got two audio outs going from the same radio.
Well, based on what we've been seeing here, they should both show the same drop.
Should. But it'd be a quick way to get a look at the amplitude without having to get any special hardware. Because you get the scope plot in FL Digi. We can talk about it later if you want.
I can't figure out an easy way of doing that.
This is the DRF data from my station last night. Nice.
Wow. Something happened.
Yep.
The alien spacecraft must have blocked the signal.
Or the yeah, the Doppler shift doesn't seem to be affected.
Well, there's a hole in the ionosphere.
Well, then the Doppler shift would be affected.
Blame North Koreans.
Yeah, if you look through the digital RF plots from last night, a lot of them have this at the same time.
Yeah.
And it matches what you're seeing on the FL Digi side.
Yep.
Well, that's promising that our systems are working correctly.
Well, working consistency in experimentation is always good.
Yes. So it is. I think it is a good question. Then, is it something that is geophysical, or is it something that is WWV?
These are not unique. I've
Say it again,
seen
Bob?
them. These are not unique
Yeah,
responses.
I agree. I see those kinds of dropouts.
I see
oh,
those
half
all
a
the
days.
time.
Yeah, they happen every week.
Approximately once every 1 to 2 weeks, yes.
Is there, does WWV have a transmitter log?
I'm sure
Are
Matt
we-
is doing that.
Are we able to, if they have a transmitter log, are they able to provide that to us?
Who would you ask?
I
Matt
think
Joy-
that I would be surprised that they wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure Matt keeps that.
Maybe we start, why don't we just ask them if we can have their transmitter log, be like, we've seen these things. All of our grapes seem to be doing it at the same time. Are you doing maintenance or is it going into low power mode? Is there some way you can provide
Well-
us a log of this?
I think it might be worth checking the ground station before we
Well, no, I mean, why don't we, if they, maybe they have to keep it normally and maybe he can just be like, yeah, here's the file. And then, I mean,
Does anybody
if it's
have
complicated,
does anybody have their phone number?
Yeah, just call them up.
I
maybe
can get it.
Caston's,
I can get in touch
yeah.
with Matt. I'll be glad to call Matt. This
Yeah,
is Dave in Colorado. So
And David here in Cleveland, we're in touch with him
How-
regularly.
How about
Yeah,
also
and they've-
checking the Colorado grapes?
Yeah, well, that's what Rachel said about the control station. So that too. But I mean, since we are in good terms with NIST, and I know they want to be supportive, why not ask them?
Right.
they do take transmitters offline and put, temporary, they switch to the other antenna. They have to change tubes, things like that. So
Yeah,
WWV.
and this is all very consistent with that.
looking at my graph from yesterday, the GNU radio, I don't see a drop, but my signal's like, way up there. So I don't see any kind of waiver at that time.
That's good to know.
Where are you geographically, Dave?
I'm 8 miles from WWB.
Ah,
He
So
lives in
yeah,
Becca.
it'll be nice if we can rule out the transmitter, if we can rule out the receivers, then we start going over and looking at all the space weather data.
right. Science.
Yay.
But I see
Very
there
little
wasn't a
excited.
flare during that time, so it's something else.
All right, Nathaniel, I copied you on an email I just sent to Matt.
Oh, thank you. And Bill, this is a sort of thing that might be nice if we can, eventually someday figure out with website pulling some of these other data sets to, have a summary of like the flares and the geomagnetic storms, the DST and the SIM-H data.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can line these all up, then,
Right.
line up about 20 different data sources and somewhere a couple of them are probably going to match. And now you've got
Yeah.
smoking gun.
Yeah, I think this is really good. Rachel, we're at 11:06.
Yep.
Any other, I'm supposed to get on with John after this.
I don't have anything unless anybody has
Okay,
any.
I'll just mention one thing. I went on my own. I went out and I emailed all the red pins. I'd like to get more red pins green, but I'm not taking it on permanently. I did email all the red pins. I only got a response from one person by asking if they needed help. And on the space on Bill's map. And
Yeah,
only
no,
one
really.
person responded and he had an issue that he was working with Bill, but I did not hear back from anyone else. So
There are some red pins of people who have registered on the system and don't have a grape and don't intend to putting one on. They just want to be able to look at the data. So, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a fault in the system that I show a red pin for somebody who's really not even attempting to run a system. So maybe we need a third color for.
Yeah, or maybe
Servers?
Bill, if they've never submitted any data, can you just not show a pin?
Oh, we could probably put something in to do that.
Do you think, could you do it by next week?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not necessarily true. I think you have to put in some kind of geographic information because I'm registered and there's no pin for me.
Okay. The
But I
reason
Maybe
the
you-
reason
yeah.
the reason I ask for next week is next week, Gary, myself, Gareth, we're going to this NASA Science Activation Conference, and we're supposed to be kind of advertising what we're doing. And the less red pins, the more green pins we can have, and the less red ones we can have on the map, probably the better.
Yeah, I think maybe the thing to do is to take those stations that have never submitted any data and maybe make the color of the pin black. See, these are participants who are observing data and doing their own, I mean, because they are members.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I think that's good, but yeah, something to make it more
Positive.
more positive. That's it. Yeah.
All right, and I would like the minutes to reflect that the Along Path CHU monitoring project is continuing. I want to talk about it a little next time. Yeah, thanks, John, for your help. That will be partly a Grape 2 effort.
Okay. All right.
We have one station in the Netherlands monitoring CHU and uploading data.
Excellent.
Next week. All right. Anything else urgent, pressing? Questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, it's Camille J, 7LF. So I'm currently running an FL Digi on the West Coast, Portland area. Should I be switching to digital RF or leave it as FL Digi?
Just leave it as
do
FL
both.
Digi for now.
You can do both.
Oh
With,
yeah, you can listen
so-
to Bob. You can do both.
It's
With
a heavy
another Pi?
Yeah, take another Pi, another sound card, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's-
running 2 stations that way.
Ken, if you want the details, I can send those to you. I've got some diagrams on how to do that if you're interested.
Sure,
Yes,
why don't you
but-
send it to me?
But the question
that's-
is, shall he abandon FL Digi and move on?
No,
to
no,
RF?
no.
The answer to that
No,
is
no, 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 no. And did I
Let me-
mention
let-
no?
The answer is
Let me
no.
get Ken's contact info.
Yeah, so it's Ken at Milnes, MILNES .TV, as in television.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's familiar, Ken. I've seen that before. Will do.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other pressing questions, comments, or concerns? Because if not, we are 10 past, and I'm just gonna end it here.
See,
Thank
I
you,
was gonna
Rachel.
say I think I got a text from Mary Lou. Yeah, and I appreciate the offer, but the hand soldering would be difficult at best. It's 10,000th pitch parts that are hard to see. They're not the little grape boards. These things are 4 inches by 6 inches. So
Well,
300 bucks.
I didn't know, but they have technical microscope soldering equipment, and just wanted to know if you had any help. If you want my
Yeah.
daughter's phone number, I will text it to you.
Okay. Yeah, there's over 200 parts per board, so that's why we're getting a machine done. But thank you for the offer.
Okay.
Rachel, this is Dave in Colorado. I did get some feedback from Steve Serwin on my strange Rorschach diagram that I showed last week, and I can fill people in on that later.
Okay. I'll put that on for next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, and guys, just as a reminder, you can also, I have minutes set up till, I think, December 7th. So if you, hang on. I'll share my minutes one more time and then we'll go. But either you can wait, you can put stuff in when I send out the link, or you can put in your own business to next week ahead of time using the handy dandy link for 11/16.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, so if you have anything that we haven't talked about before, it can go in open agenda. Just put your call sign in, just in case, because I'll put everything on next week's that we talked about, but it might help budget the time if we know how much we need to talk about beforehand on some stuff.
Let me go ahead and add that way then.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
I think we will call that a close then. 7-3.
73, thank you.
7-3.
Thank you,
Seven
Rachel.
trays.